We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Winshaw. How you doing? Good today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. We have a little bit of a smaller show this week. There wasn't that many news. It's kind of a 4-day week. If not for us, though, we're always there on Friday. But yeah, it was a little bit slower on news side. It was there was no like big tariff changes. I mean, some tariff changes, but nothing that affects the auto world too much, for better or worse. Because I mean, we're kind of expecting some good news too on the tariff side. Like, I would assume that he's gonna back down at some point. So
Right.
that's gonna be good news at some point. But for now, I don't think it's gonna get much worse than 145% tariffs on China, and 10% or so on the rest of the world, 25% on steel. That affects the auto business too, obviously. But we still have a few interesting to discuss. So yeah, the biggest story of the week probably was an interesting new report that kind of gave us more details on Elon's decision making to kill let's call it the Model 2, the $25,000 Tesla. So we're gonna have a little bit more details about that. We're gonna get into it. I think it's it was a big event at Tesla that kind of changed the course of the company and kind of solidified Elon's thinking around Tesla's future product lineup. We're going to talk about used car prices about Tesla too. We have the Odometergate that it's been happening that kind of demystify a little bit this morning in a report. We're going to talk about global EV sales. We have some new stats coming in. They are surging. It's good news. We're going to talk about the ZEEKR's new 7GT, 007 GT. And Chinese EV automakers keep like killing it. It's impressive stuff. And we're going to announce that we're going to China too in the coming weeks, Seth first and then me later on. So we're going to have a lot more to report about the Chinese EV world. That's getting a lot interesting. All right, let's start with this report. It came from Steve Levine from The Information. Steve has some good sources at Tesla every now and again as interesting reports. And this week he came out with a new report that basically gave a little bit more color, a little bit more details around the decision making that we already reported on. It happened early in 2024 when Elon killed the Model 2, the $25,000 Tesla. It's not really the official name, the Model 2. The official name was the NV9. So there was the NV9 1, 2, and 3. I think the NV9 3 is the Robotaxi. It's all the new vehicle based on the new vehicle platform, the on-box vehicle platform. So at first, Tesla was planning to do two cheaper 25 or so thousand models, dollar models on the platform, and the Robotaxi, which is a steering wheel-less vehicle. So that was the original plan for this. And in early 2024, Elon decided to kill the cheaper, affordable EVs that you could drive and just focus on the Robotaxi. And still, there was still a plan for more affordable EVs, but those based on Model 3, Model Y, just to basically strip down versions of those vehicles, fewer features, a little bit cheaper, not $25,000 cheap, but $30,000 to $35,000 range is expected. All right, so the decision making around this, it's very interesting that the report, because it's builds on things that were reported before, including our reporting on this. And if you remember, Seth, when the first time that it came out that the $25,000 model was canceled was Reuters. It came out with a report early in 2024 about it, and Elon denied it. It was like, yeah, he said it was fake news and whatnot.
Right.
And I think that, like, even back then, we were like skeptical about Elon saying that. I think that the angle that he was taking is like he hasn't canceled more affordable EVs. He canceled this specific NV91 and 2, and then greenlit the stripped down Model Y vehicles. Right. So that, I think that was his like, yeah, well, we're still planning to do affordable EVs, so I can call this fake news, even though this is very different. So in the information report this week, it's highlight a specific meeting that happened in the last week of February. So I'm quoting Steve here. In the last week of February 2024, after a couple of years of back and forth debate on the Model 2, again, unofficial name, Musk called a meeting on a wide range of executives at Tesla's office in Palo Alto, California. The proposed $25,000 cars was on the agenda, a final chance to hear the vehicle's pros and cons, the people said. Musk's senior lieutenants argued intensely for the economic logic of producing both the Model the Model 2 and the Robotaxi. So what he described basically is that at the meeting, most exec were pushing for, let's do both. Let's do the Model 2 and the Robotaxi. And the Model 2, the $25,000 model, was announced by Elon in 2020. It was at the original battery day when Tesla unveiled all its new battery cell technology and structural battery pack. He said, like, this is what's going to enable us to make a $25,000 car. So that's when this idea of a $25,000 car first appeared. So that was Elon's own idea, but that changed. So by late 2024, Elon, after much speculation, because we've been saying for a while that the $25,000 is not happening, it's been canceled. Elon denied it at first, but this, like what we just discussed, the denial was weird, and then the focus was on the Robotaxi. Tesla sort of confirm our own reporting on this when they said that only the Robotaxi is going to be built on the Unbox platform. Everything else is going to be just on existing production line. But a lot of Tesla fans didn't even believe that until Elon finally said it. I think having a regular 25,000 model is pointless. Yeah, it would be silly. Like, it would be completely at odds with what we believe. So he finally said it in late 2024. But now the information report specified that Daniel Ho, the head of vehicle program at Tesla, Drew Baglino, SVP of engineering, and Rohan Patel, head of business development, were all at this meeting, and they're since gone from Tesla, and were pushing for the Model 2 to be made. Lars Mojave and Franz von Halsen, VP of vehicle engineering and chief designer, were still at Tesla, also reportedly at the meeting push for the Model 2, but Elon was very reticent for it. One person backed Elon, and that's Homed Ashfar, who's known as a big Musk loyalist, and for a good reason, because he was his chief of staff for a few years, and now he has a very wide-ranging, high-level role at Tesla by Musk, elevated by Musk, I should say. And based on the reports, like, the report is pretty detailed. Like, Steve has some good sources then, and they even, like, Patel is quoted in the article, so that's
on the record.
That's a pretty good sign. But he said that so it's, I'm not saying that's Patel that leaked that information, but he has, I think, three sources that were mentioned in the article. They said that Omed said that there a mutiny? How do you say that in English? Mutiny. So is there a mutiny here when people were, like, pushing against Elon on this? And then Elon finally went, let's kill it and focus on the Robotaxi. But the thing that was happening at the meeting is, like, the executive here, like Baglino and Ho and Patel, were not coming in happy-ended, saying that, like, obviously, I think it makes a ton of sense to do the $25,000 Tesla and the Robotaxi, because the Robotaxi is such a high risk, because it's a no steering wheel vehicle. So you have to solve FSD to make it work. Otherwise, it's useless, or, unless you do what Tesla's going to do in Austin with the geofence, still operated stuff, but still. So apparently these executives had an analyst report that Baglino's team had put together that painted, like, quite a dire picture of the Robotaxi program, saying that it would probably reduce Tesla's business in the US, wouldn't be profitable for years, and maybe even forever, because it would be very difficult to expand it outside of the US, in Europe and China, due to regulatory issues. Things that made a ton of sense. So again, Patel was quoted in the report, said, we had lots of modeling that showed the payback around FSD and Robotaxi was going to be slow. It was going to be choppy. It was going to be very, very hard outside of the US, given the regulatory environment and lack of regulatory environment. All very good point, very legit point. All things that Tesla probably has a lot of data on, because FSD has been around for years, and of course it hasn't been solved yet, so it doesn't have that much value. But Tesla has a pretty good idea, even based with all the marketing, all the lies, all the embellishment around full self-driving. It's not a successful product. Most Tesla owners are not buying it. So that should already tell you a lot about that. But then the report went into much more details. So basically, based on what we learned from the report, Tesla was modeling that, if they are successful with a robotaxi, so they come out with a robotaxi and it works, like the actual software, like it does what it's supposed to, it would, going with Elon's approach, that the higher utilization rate, so since these robotaxis are going to be used like nonstop, they won't, they're going to charge them, they're going to be on the road, they're going to be providing fares for people. You're going to get a much higher utilization rate that's going to shrink the need for new cars in the US. That's the idea. That's Elon's own idea. So based on that, they said that they would shrink the US new car fleet from 15 million a year to 3 million a year. So that's already a big thing due to a 5 times higher utilization rate. So with that, they subtracted the percentage of the population that wouldn't want or can or is not interested in using self-driving vehicles. So that's a real thing too. So from that, they went from 3 million to 1 million a year potential in the US robotaxi production. So that's already like significant. Like they could deliver 1 million vehicle a year. But the problem with that, so as one people said, is that there's ultimately a saturation of people who want to be ferried around in somebody else's car. So you also have a tough mix of new car, so robotaxis sold to the customers. So that's something that Elon has said in the past that they want to do. They want to sell cars to customers, sell robotaxis, and Tesla having its own fleet. So you have both of those things. So after accounting for all that in competition, because obviously Tesla is not going to be the only one doing that, they came out to about they figured out that it's going to be hard for this million potential robotaxi cell to replace Tesla's existing sales of 600,000 cars or so a year. So their cannibalization of the US sales from that part through the million potential sale of robotaxi, when you account for potential competition in there, you kind of, it's a losing gambit. You're cannibalizing your own profitable US sales for a low margin vehicle from that. Because in that report, they also calculated an average sell price between $20,000 and $25,000, which I think is pretty low. But they said that they would expect to get 3 times that in revenue from Tesla's share of the fares that those vehicles will produce over the timeline. So that's still just a $60,000 in potential revenue on top of that over the lifetime of the vehicle. It's not bad, but when you account for the vehicle for 600,000 vehicle sales per year that you are basically going to cannibalize through that, it's just not a great look. And it's also a fraction of what Elon had said in 2019. He said that the value of Tesla's vehicle would rise to about $100,000 to $200,000 from the FSD package. So based on that, it's not even close. But even though Elon was presented with that analysis, he kind of dismissed it. It was like, yeah, no, we're still going with that. And of course, what happened after that? So 3 of those executives that were pushing for Tesla to keep the Model 2 on top of the Robotaxi because they were afraid of the Robotaxi not making sense financially, they were let go or left by themselves. So Daniel Ho, there was reports that he was actually let go. Drew Baglino is not as clear, but might have been pushed out, might have left on his own accord. And Roland Patel said that he left on his own accord because he was not happy with the changes at Tesla around the time, including like let it go of thousands of people. That was in April of 2024. So yeah, I think this is basically the best example of one of the clearest example of Elon's shift to autonomy and his strong belief that Tesla is always on the verge of solving autonomy. that is degrading Tesla's business basically, because now you don't have vehicle programs that probably would have helped Tesla grow quite a bit. And now that's where we are with Tesla basically.
Yeah, Tesla's not in dire straits right now. I don't know why Elon didn't think they could do both. In fact, I wonder how much the Model 2 looked like the Robotaxi. I mean, the Robotaxi is a smaller Model Y looking vehicle. Like, is it possible that they just decided, hey, this Model 2 thing, let's just make it the taxi, and we're not going to make it with a steering wheel?
I think they probably had, like I said, we found 3 code name, like NV91, 2, and 3. So I'm sure that like they were on the same platform and everything. So probably they were similar in designs and form factor and everything. Some differences. I it's kind of a hard sell. This even like the Cybercab Robotaxi right now has even if you put a steering wheel in it and everything, like it's just the form factor not ideal, I think. But some changes, a back seat and maybe a little bit tiny bigger, and it would have made sense. So I think you just figure out like who's gonna buy a $25,000-$30,000 car when you have like a $25,000 version or no version at all,
right?
That you can just like buy. You can just buy the fare for a fraction of the cost. Let's just do that. I think that was more of his thinking. Is just that let's be honest, like it's probably not happening anytime soon at a big scale. So that's the argument that we're making in the analysis that Elon shut down too, is that let's say, okay, you make it work in Austin and the FSD is pretty good, everything. Now you have to get a good mix of a fleet available and customer. I think Tesla would be probably pretty good on the customer side, or at least they would have been like last year. Like brand degradation probably wouldn't help with that. Also,
Right.
like I would be scared right now to have a fleet of Tesla vehicle, not like no one in the car to stop people from vandalizing them and everything. Like it's just not a great timing for Tesla on that front. But anyway, that's it. Even if you don't have that, you need to create this balance of customers and fleet available so that you can get a car quickly. Because otherwise, you're going to get a Uber, you're going to get something else. Like you need the car to be quickly available, or it's worth less. So it's a big upfront investment. Also, and then you have in that to balance the percentage of people that actually want to put their car in the fleet, but then we already discussed issues with that, as like the times that you're going to want to have your car on the fleets are going to be the times where the demand is going to be pretty low, because when the demand is high, you probably want your car yourself. So this is really a bad product on that front already, and that will reduce the profitability of the fleet. So between then, okay, it works for Austin, but then you have to expand it to another market. You have to have regulatory approval for that. Maybe now that Elon is so close to Trump, maybe they get something done at the federal level that helps with that. But if they do that, then they're going to have, I think, some wider issues on terms of performance. I think it's good that Tesla right now is like limited to Texas, because they have to make sure this works in Texas. Like if Tesla was like just turning the switch and making like 1 million Robotaxi available in the US, like Elon claimed he would for years, I think it would be quite a mess.
Chaos.
Very fast. A company handing mess too. Like, you just need like a couple of headlines of fatal crashes of like actual unsupervised self-driving cars, and you're screwed. All right, and another big problem for Tesla right now is the value of their cars. This is crashing so fast, and there was some good news about that about used car prices. So if you haven't been following the used car market, because at Electrek we focus more on the new car market, because like that's how EVs are going to take over, is like the percentage of new car sales are EVs. That's what we aim for. But with the increased sales in the last few years, we're starting to get a decent EV used car market. But the used car market in general, had a big spike in prices during COVID because limitation with the new car sales helped the value of used cars, and that propelled into 2022. I think it peaked, and then since then it's been crashing, obviously, because it went high so fast that it'd been coming down for a while, and you had some good deals on new cars too. So it helps bringing down the used car prices a lot. So the used car market has been suffering for it for quite a bit because it kept going down until the last month or so. It finally shot up. So used car prices, like according to the Core Guru Index, are up 2.17% in the last 30 days, making them up for the whole year. Now that was quite a big reversal over the last. Basically the last month, like late March, so we started seeing the trend reverse. And that's obviously partly because of the tariffs, because of the macroeconomic situation. So there was a lot more fear, which drives people away from the new car market into the used car market and boosts prices. So that's what we're seeing right now. The crazy thing is that it's not happening for Tesla. So you see the depth of Tesla's brand issues right now, with everyone dumping their vehicles. People don't want to be associated with Tesla. They are selling their cars. And you're seeing the impact, because even though the market is up 2.17% in the last 30 days, Tesla is down 1.34%. So this is quite significant. And Tesla is down year over year 7%. Now, year over year, I think the Model Y is kind of dragging that down. The Cybertruck is dragging that down a lot because it's down like 52%. But even the Model Y is down like 1.6% in the last month or so. So that's still pretty big, even though the new one launching. So new one launching at higher prices, normally that would help a little bit. But Tesla still had such a wide inventory of old Model Y that they kept discounting, that it's just not helping. There was a new report in the Journal de Montréal this week in Quebec. In Quebec, I think that it's even worse. So all the data that I just shared, it's in the US, but I think it's even worse in Quebec now, especially with Elon saying things like Canada is not a real country and all that. It just doesn't help quite a bit. And Elon's influence on Trump being elected, and Trump pushing steep tariffs on Canada, also not helping. But the report from the Journal went to an auction, a used car auction, where a bunch of used car dealers come and then they bid on cars, and there were 13 Teslas there and hundreds of used car dealers bidding on the vehicles, and they saw like no demand for the Tesla vehicles, which went for like half the price that they would go on like a year and a half ago, just because they're scared. So Eric Puez, one of a used car dealership in central Montreal, says that people don't want them anymore. The Elon Musk effect is very real in Quebec. He said that basically the used car dealers are worried that it's going to take too long because of the high inventory to sell the cars. So if they hold the car for too long, then they are affected by losing value. So they are very reticent to get new Tesla inventory on because of that. And they also say like it's not like it's a buyer's market for Tesla vehicle right now, because like they know that problem, they know the inventory problem, so they are lowballing their offers. They also saw a significant increase in default on car payments for Tesla vehicles, because a lot of people bought them at the peak in 2022, 2023, when those cars were like twice the price than they are today, and your car payments don't change. Your car payments stay the same. So a lot of people are ended up defaulting on that, especially with the increased macroeconomics issues right now. So yeah, this is a bit scary. Like if you have $1,000 payment a month on a car that's not worth like $30,000. It's
like walking away from an underwater house mortgage.
Yep, exactly. All right, this was a big story this week that a lot of people picked up, but I was not so sure about. So some people are already calling it the Odometergate, a la Dieselgate. So it's someone that filed a class action lawsuit against Tesla in California, claiming basically that they are using predictive algorithm to inflate the mileage at the odometer with the goal of reducing the warranty claims. So basically, they are accelerating you reaching your limited warranty. So in this case, like it was a used car, so it was 50,000 miles. But in some cases, like for the most Tesla vehicles, for the battery and powertrain, have a 200,000 miles warranty, or 8 years, whichever comes first. Things like that. So obviously, if your mileage goes up faster than it actually does, it's good for Tesla, because it's even though it doesn't look good on the actual specs of the vehicle, it does avoid some warranty claims. But why I'm a little bit skeptical about this is like it's kind of low on evidence a little bit. So the guy that filed it, Neri Hinton, is a data professional from Los Angeles, so has some credibility with data wise, and he had some pretty like intricate data on his own vehicle and everything. So he looks like, I have no reason to think that he's lying or anything like that. So I'm not saying he's lying. It's just my doubt is like based on the lawsuit itself, it's very anecdotal on his own anecdote here. What he says is that he bought a 2020 Model Y in December of 2022. At the time, it had 36,000 or so miles on it, and then he claims that his use of the vehicle is quite limited to about 20 miles a day. But at first, he saw the odometer going up about 53 miles a day, and later in 2023, he says that the average was 72 miles a day. So he saw it as like as much as 3 times as what he believed he was driving on average. And he said that led to him, like right after his limited use warranty was past the 50,000 miles, he ended up having a $10,000 suspension repair he had to do to the car. So that's what prompted his lawsuit. We posted the whole lawsuit on Electrek if you want to read it. But again, it's limited to his personal experience, though they do cite like similar experiences that people have posted on forums and social media. But again, that's very limited. We reached out to Green, a well-known Tesla hacker that has a lot of access to Tesla software and firmware. So he often finds new Tesla features by looking at the software. So we asked him if he thinks that there's any validity to that, and he said he would be surprised that Tesla would be able to get something like that past him and past the white hat hacker community. Though he did admit that they weren't really looking for that. So it's not like there was actually an effort to find something like that. But he did make some good points. He said that it wouldn't be surprising that Tesla actually does use predictive algorithms for its odometer, but it could be as simple as accounting for tire wear. So Tesla does use tire rotation as part of it. Like most automakers, they do that to calculate the mileage on the odometer level. And if you do have like more tire wear, that you would need to compensate for that to get more specific mileage. So there's most likely than not, Tesla is using some algorithms to compensate for things like that. So that might not be false, but that doesn't mean that the goal is to deceive owners. So something to take into account. So I don't know if this lawsuit will get much legs, but if they do, we might actually learn a little bit more, because they do mention some patents that Tesla has filed for that does mention the way that they account for mileage counter, but I didn't see anything nefarious in that either. So we'll see.
My understanding was maybe this was old and maybe Model S only or something, but my understanding was that the odometer was actually like hardware. Like there was no like behind the thing, there was just one of those things that was going around, and I don't know.
That was going around, but based on what? Based on just tire rotation, or?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so like another thing that may be kind of screwy here is that Tesla's range estimates are always a little bit optimistic. They could get a few more miles out if they if every mile was actually 2 miles.
No, that's true. All right, a little Cybertruck update before we move on from Tesla news. More Cybertruck discounts now. The truck is kind of in crisis. Elon said just when they launched production, they said that he sees Tesla getting 250,000 units a year by 2025. We are in 2025 now. Sorry, and based on the first quarter at least, it looks like Tesla would be lucky to deliver 25,000 a year. So a tenth of what Elon predicted. So obviously it's not good. We reported earlier that this month on the inventory of 24,000 units. When I wrote this article 2 days ago, it was at like 2,300 units. So they only like got 100 units off the inventory. But just today, the inventory shot up like 5,000 units or something. So that's pretty nuts. And I haven't confirmed everything that happened just yet, but I haven't wrote an article on it, so I'm gonna have to look a little bit in more details. But that's pretty crazy. And now Tesla also still has Foundation Series Cybertruck. So those technically stopped production in October of last year. So you have like more than 6 months old vehicles that Tesla is not able to unload to. And those are getting, I think, $12,000 discounts. Then you have $10,000 discounts on the all-wheel drive. And a lot of them are around $8,000 discount on inventory. So, and those are all 2024 model year too, because so they are already like 3-4 months old trucks. And those don't have access to the federal tax credit. So that's why Tesla has like, you have no reason really to buy a 2024 Cybertruck. If you have access to the tax credit, you will go with the new one because you will get basically the same price and that Tesla is doing right now, but you get a car that is much more recent. So Tesla is having now to discount even further than that, like $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 for the Cybertruck, Cyberbeast, but the Cyberbeast still doesn't have access to the tax credit, of course, because it's too expensive. So Business Insider also came out with a report saying that Tesla is reducing its production output for the Cybertruck, because obviously if inventory is piling up, you just don't want to contribute more to it. So they are reducing the production output. They are moving some people from the production line too. Apparently some of them are moving to the Model Y line and some are just being removed. So yeah, not a good look for the Cybertruck. It's just very much a flop.
Yeah, when are we going to start seeing layoffs? Like, I feel like any more weeks and months of the downturn is going to be hard to keep staffing at full.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, especially like in Europe, for example, some of the markets where Tesla is just down like crazy, like Germany, like down 60% or something. Like it's just, that's probably not sustainable at the sales level. Like it doesn't justify like sales employees and all that. So that I wouldn't be surprised if it's already happening and we haven't just learned about it. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see Tesla do like a bigger wave of layoffs, like like they did last year, like a 10% layoff, something like that at the broader level that could happen. But I think you would need Musk. So like probably Elon's gonna get involved in Tesla, I think like next week or something with the earnings and whatnot. So I think the earnings are going to be wild next week. I think Tesla is going to turn it into a show. Like they're going to announce stuff. Like Elon is always, their earnings is not the time for product announcements. Like now, this one's going to be the time for product announcement because the earnings are not going to be great.
Look over here. Don't look at that.
Don't look at the numbers. So Elon probably is going to come back a little bit more active at Tesla next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if that includes, unfortunately, it includes layoffs. All right, things are not looking bright at Tesla numbers-wise, but they are looking actually pretty good for EV sales globally. So we have a new report this week from Motion, a research firm for electric vehicles that released some numbers. Global EV sales reached 4.1 million in Q1 2024-25 globally, up 29% compared to the same period last year. China is still driving the market, 2.4 million EV sales, up 36%, which is nuts. So Tesla, for example, was up a little bit in China, but nowhere near 36%. So that's something to take into account. Europe is nearing 1 million EV sales in Q1, 0.9 million, up 22%, really, really good too. Then you have North America, 500,000 sales they reach in Q1, up 16%, so decent, but not great either. The North America is clearly lagging behind the rest of the world because that's North America, but I don't know, we know Canada is way higher than the US in terms of EV adoption, so higher there too. Probably had a pretty good Q2, I would assume, though the federal rebate ended in mid-January. So, big boost, but the second half of the quarter, definitely more difficult. Rest of the world, 300,000 deliveries, up 27%. So we have some smaller markets too that are doing pretty good. Interesting stuff.
It's surprising how big China is. 2.4 million. And then that's more than half of the global.
Yeah, but they also have like a lot more models there and a lot cheaper models. So that helps a ton. Like some of the cheaper BYD models have like incredible volume that they're not available anywhere else. So you're kind of stuck.
Right.
Anyway, we have 3 more news articles we want to discuss, and then we're going to jump into the comments section. So if you guys have questions for us, you can put them in the comments right now. I want to get to them in just a few minutes. If you do enjoy the Electrek Podcast, we'd appreciate right now if you could just give us a quick like, a quick thumbs up, whatever it is on the app you're watching. It helps the show more than you think, and it takes just a second to do, and it's free to do also. And if you're listening on your podcast app, if you can give us a 5-star rating, only if you enjoy the show, of course, that helps a ton also. So we appreciate when you can do it. All right, ZEEKR, I think you guys are going to go see them next week at the Shanghai Auto Show. They came out with their latest model, the 7GT or 007 GT for the full name, so very much James Bond inspired. It's a new, fully stacked, fully loaded electric vehicle with a lot of impressive features. And, as this often the big thing with the Chinese, like extremely impressive pricing here. Let's go into some of those specs. Well, you can see the model through here. It's a shooting brake too, so that's refreshing. We don't see a lot of wagon shooting brake EVs these days, and it looks pretty good too. Very sporty. Light bar everywhere for those EVs. Like it's in China, it's the standard now. Oh, I like it.
Reminds me a little bit of the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo a little bit.
Yeah, well, one of the other very rare shooting brake wagon EV. All right, so you get this thing in 2 different battery options. So very interesting battery options. 75 kilowatt-hour LFP cells for the standard one. And it quotes you on the CLTC 650 kilometers of range, 404 miles. I'm sure at the EPA level that will get you, just over 300 miles, which is very good. For the price, because that thing starts, by the way, at 200,000 yen, which is $27,600. The equivalent, again, it's the equivalent of, because it's not actually available in the US. So that's pretty good. Like a $27,000 car gets you 300 miles of range and looks like that, because it looks amazing too. And then you can have the fully equipped version with a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which use NMC cells, so you have higher density, so the car won't be that much more heavy, even though it gets like 25 more kilowatt hours. And in terms of range, it's 825 kilometers, 530 miles of range, which I'm pretty confident with that form factor, 100 kilowatt hour. I would say it's probably a close to 400 miles, a little bit more than 400 mile car here on the APA equivalent. 0 to 62, 100 kilometers an hour, 2.95. So probably like 0 to 60 in like 2.8 or something like that. Like
fast.
I don't know what's the price of the 100 kilowatt hour pack, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the equivalent of like $32,000 or something like that, which is insane. Some pictures of the interior here. Oh, very much Tesla inspired here with like the clean look of the fan all the way through and center display, but it looks like there's a heads-up display too. That's nice, and there's also a instrument cluster. A few different options here. Man, that looks good. Can't believe that's $30,000 right there.
It's interesting. The backseat doesn't. There's not a middle. Oh, there is in that picture, but
yeah, there is. It's just there's a center console that you can pull down. And this is with the seat remote. Like you have it's nice with a shooting brake with a hatch like that. You have a giant opening. You have some full grain Napa leather. Oh, they are not on the vegan bandwagon there. It's surprising. The infotainment system is powered by a Qualcomm 8295 chipset. Okay. There's a sensor suite powered by the dual NVIDIA Orin system with LiDAR and high definition cameras and millimeter wave radar. Jeez.
Yeah,
So it
everything.
has ZEEKR's G-Pilot suite of ADS features. And again, starting at the equivalent of $27,000.
That's crazy.
That's just nuts. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that we go there in China, and like I don't think it's gonna happen, honestly. But I'm kind of hoping we go there and like we check out these cars and they're just they're falling apart as we test them or something. Because otherwise,
We're in trouble.
what hope does the rest of the market has if that's really what they're capable of doing and quality?
Right.
Because I've been talking like last week I was talking about my suspicion is that one of the things that enables them to do that and like have like crazy range, crazy charging speed, is that they're probably a little bit more cowboy about how they approach like longevity of their products, and they are willing to push them to the limits, while legacy automakers and Western automakers are a little bit more cautious about that. But then like China came out last week with this week with a new policy that pushed for new regulation, new requirements for batteries with like zero chances of fire, zero chances of explosion. Like if your cars like catch on fires, if your battery catches on fires in your EV, you're going to be pulled from the market right away. Like things like that are pretty like hardcore regulations that would kind of invalidate a lot of the other EV automakers. But at the same time, like I would think that I think that the vast majority of EVs right now in China use LFP cells, and
Right.
those are much less prone to thermal events. So that
Right.
might also be a way to like squeeze out some of the market that doesn't use LFP, even though again most of them use it.
I mean, the other big concern or like the paranoia is that the Chinese government is subsidizing a lot of the costs, a lot of the ramp up, a lot of that stuff. So that's how they're able to get such good products for such a low price. I mean, that's blatantly what others have said. That's the justification for tariffs, all that.
I think there's definitely some truth to that. Like, I think China doesn't hide it, like that they are
Right.
getting involved with their manufacturing. But I think at scale, like it happened first. But remember, there was kind of a cleanup of that at some point. Like there was like a surge of Chinese EV startups. Like there were just like a ton of them, like too many of them, and then they calmed things down and like reduced their incentive towards that and everything. And like so, I think I think they've pulled that back quite a bit. That was like 2021, 2022, like a bit as Tesla started like having a lot of success with Gigafactory Shanghai. It created like a giant wave of EV automakers in China, and like they calmed things down a bit and like consolidated a lot of these automakers. All right, we're gonna add some nice sports classic EVs built in the US. So the British EV retrofitter RBW EV Cars announced that they started construction of a new $8 million site to produce their vehicle in North America. So they have two models, the two models that you see here. So you have like a GT and you have a Roadster, open top Roadster. I think they're based on like the British car company and then like the 50s, 60s, like the
MG.
yeah,
Or
and the original MG that they had like very similar models. So they're based on that, but they are making them electric. And they already have delivered quite a few in Europe, but now they are coming to North America. Apparently, there's a big enough market for it. So they have this facility here that they are building out in Virginia to produce these two cars. So that's they have some screen everything,
Cool.
so it looks very classic look, but you have some technology in there too. And it's like it's not for everyone. Like I think I saw the price here, so it starts at 108,000 pounds, so about 143,000 American dollars, and you get 150 miles of range, 90 miles per hour top speed, 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. So it's not like a very powerful vehicle. Don't expect a ton of range on it, but there's not that many roadsters out there, like open top vehicle EVs. So they feel like they have a market that they can fill, like people like classic cars. And for me, I will have like, even though I like the look and everything, I will have a hard time paying $150,000 for a car that gets 150
Yeah,
miles of range. But I guess it's kind of a weekend, like Sunday drive vehicle for people that have like crazy money, I guess.
that's right.
All right, we have a quick update on the eVTOL stuff. So Archer, one of the leaders in the electric vehicle takeoff and landing, they have a deal now with United, one of their investors, to bring a new network of eVTOL vehicles in New York, set your
Oh,
corner of the world,
hello.
basically to connect with airports. So the idea, you have the map here. So you have three regional airports, and then you have LaGuardia, JFK, and New York that they can connect with downtown. With three, there's three. Let me see the details here. Maybe you're gonna be better with the geography of it. So yeah, it's gonna connect JFK, LaGuardia, and New York with three different helipads, one on East 34th Street heliport,
Hmm.
downtown Skyport, and West 30th Street heliport, and then three regional airport: Westchester County Airport, Teterboro Airport, and Republic Airport. So I guess
That's
the
cool.
idea behind that is that they're going to use their eVTOL vehicle to offer rides, basically to cut the traffic. Because if you land at JFK and you need to be downtown Manhattan, sometimes you just had like a 6-hour flight, you're dead, and like you're looking at another 2 hours of traffic before you actually get to your destination. So that would cut that down. Obviously, there's already their service that called an helicopter, but I think their idea is that would create more competition and lower the price of those services. The Archer vehicle is good for just 4 passengers plus a pilot, so you're kind of limited on that. But I'm sure there's going to be some kind of demand for it.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the kind of taken over for helicopters there. I mean, helicopters service all those airports already, I think.
Yeah, but
The helipads.
I think it's safer than a helicopter. Like the more rotors you have, like the Archer system has like 8 or 10 motors or something like that. So it's a little bit safer on that front. I think they claim it's quieter a little bit than a helicopter too. That's I'm surprised of that, but it's possible. And it's probably going to be cheaper to operate because of fuel costs. You
Yeah.
can just charge them at location, and then
Yeah, it's just electric, right?
yep. So I'm curious because
Uh,
Archer is definitely the closer to actually making this happen. So I don't think there's an actual timeline on this, but they plan to do that pretty soon because they are going through the FAA process for their aircraft right now.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool if they can pull it off. And then
Yeah,
that'll be a stepping stone to other cool stuff.
the flying car, they've been talking about it for so long, might actually happen.
Might actually happen. All right. From before we even started, Speculor says, question. So is no news good news or bad news for the quality of GM software? Interesting question. I had the Sierra EV pickup that I'm still writing the review on. And then just this week, I was at the Blazer SS event. Both of them have pretty solid software. Google's been doing good stuff. I mean, obviously, I don't know why they took out CarPlay and Android Auto. Like you can have both, but yeah, it's fine. Um, there's some stuff where it spins, but I think that's more of a Google problem. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. I know Jamie, when he reviewed the Blazer, wasn't impressed by the software, but I think it's a lot better now.
It's been a while since I've been in a GM EV, but
Yeah, weren't you supposed
I'm
to get a
looking.
Silverado?
Yeah, I haven't yet. They were like, they kept telling me I was about to, and then it never happened. But I'm supposed to get in a bunch of try the new Cadillacs this summer, so I'm
Oh wow,
looking forward to that. I'll be able to review the software a little bit.
Escalade.
Yeah, apparently the Escalade is in
Hmm.
very high demand, so they're like, maybe like in late summer. But I want to check out the Optic. The Optic is like the new entry level one, so the
Hmm.
price is actually pretty attractive.
Question: any non-truck EVs coming with 240 volt AC outlets? The cheap way to do vehicle to home. I was trying to think of. I mean, obviously, plenty of trucks.
Yeah,
They,
trucks, but
I think
it's not very
Kia. So
popular these days in EVs, like the 240 volt.
yeah, the Kia has that adapter that goes on to the charge port, and I think that that there's a 240 volt because basically it's the same car, but the Europeans use 200 volt systems, so you can get that. I'm not sure any others. Rivian should do that as well, but
But you said
new.
not truck though. What kind of trucks?
Yeah. All right, that Tesla could profitably build a $25,000 car is a real issue that no one can honestly answer because Tesla has fudged their profitability numbers for years. When you're led by a world-class liar, okay.
I mean,
I feel like they could have done it.
it's true that in the last few years, Tesla's gross margin have been reduced quite a bit, but they are still making the Model Y and Model 3 profitably at a starting price that is not like that far off. It's just it's not close to 25, and it wouldn't be the same car. It would be a new
Right.
car. It would be a smaller car. I wouldn't be shocked that Tesla would be able to do a $25,000 with very low margins, but then you have a few add-on, and then that helps. And then the FSD, especially if Tesla would break it back down with an enhanced autopilot type of thing, and
Yeah.
even though a little bit further, and like try to focus on the level 3 autonomy, which I think Tesla would be able to do. But they're very focused on level 4, and you could sell that, and that will increase your gross margin on the cars too. So yeah, I think there was plenty of opportunities to do it. It's like Elon is just so convinced that they're on the verge of solving FSD that it just doesn't matter. It's sad.
All right, NC asks, is the actual of the 4680 battery creating a domino effect through Tesla? Maybe there's a better version of that. Question: if the actual performance realized from the 4680 now creating a domino effect through Tesla, starting with the Cybertruck blunder?
Well, the 4680 is still limited to the Cybertruck right now, so no. The answer is no. Like,
But it was in Model
I
Y
guess.
for a while.
Yeah, and then they focus just on the Model Y. I guess maybe I'm not understanding the question correctly, but I guess the idea might be like, because Tesla, the only vehicle that Tesla launched in the last 5 years is the Cybertruck, which is very disappointing, and it has the 4680 cells. And yes, the Cybertruck's specs are not what they were supposed to be. So maybe I guess the idea is that because the 4680 is not doing great, and Tesla introduced it in the Cybertruck, and they were planning to do like other models with it, and that didn't work. So that's why it didn't work out, because the 4680 specs didn't live up to its promise. So I guess you can look at it like that, but I don't think there's an actual problem with the form factor. I think Tesla is just, they didn't manage to bring it to the level that they were supposed to be, and it reduced your options when you don't have, when you thought you're going to have a battery cell that has, let's say, like 10% more energy density than it has now. It's just that 10% can limit your options quite a bit.
Yeah. All right. Abnormal Wrench asks, do you think vehicle to home will get popular enough that manufacturers will start offering modifications for older EVs to make vehicle to home compliant?
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Retrofit is not.
No.
Most automakers, they don't like retrofit. It's just they want to sell a new car. So yeah, the new car is going to have it, but like they don't. So yeah, I wouldn't count on that.
I mean, you can put like an inverter on your 12 volt system, and I did that with a Bolt. Worked out pretty well, but
yeah, there's some limitations, but it works.
Would you consider changing how you discuss EV capacity? Range numbers are too simple. We want battery capacity and miles per kilowatt hour that gets to the range number. I think we often talk about battery capacity, and maybe a little bit less so about kilowatt hour.
I mean, the miles per kilowatt hour is like it varies so much. Like even my own car, it varies all the time. Just the way I drive. Like if I'm driving with my girlfriend, if I'm not driving with my girlfriend, that makes a big difference. Like and it has nothing to do with my girlfriend's weight. It has all to do with the way I drive. If I have someone else in the car, and if I'm by
Right.
myself. Like, so there's a lot of issues with that. We do sometimes, like if I'm doing like a review, a car review, and if I'm doing part of the drive that I'm just focusing, like I'll drive, just I'm doing a road trip and I want to drive efficiently and comfortably, I'll look, then I'll pull up the efficiency numbers and I'll share that in my review. But a lot of the times, like for example, I posted my Audi GT RS review last weekend, and that was just like a 3 hour drive in the desert and a few minutes on the racetrack. Like I don't have that much time to just, I don't know, I could go on the highway at 17, tell you like what's the consumption there, but that would be like a very limited period of time. For in 3 hours, like I have to like test out the vehicle, especially it's the GT, so you kind of have to have fun with it a little bit, but the efficiency numbers are useless for that.
All right, Skeptic says FSD reminds me of the Segway. Tons of hype for a product few people are willing to spend money on, except the Segway actually worked when it was introduced. The owner of Segway died testing his off-road version. Too bad Musk is unwilling to test his own junk.
Okay,
That's
okay,
not
okay.
nice.
Yeah, let's not
That's not nice.
go there. Let's not go there. Yeah, I don't know if it's the best comparison, the Segway to FSD.
No.
Yeah. Because the Segway was never gonna, like, I guess they thought that. That's I'm sure the CEO of Segway said that at some point, that it was gonna change the world, because a lot of tech people like to say that about their product. But technically, the FSD has like incredible potential. Like if it would actually have done what Elon claimed it would do, and you can just flip a switch and like a million Tesla vehicles can drive themselves. Yeah, it's massive. It's just not what's going to happen. So it's more about like a perspective of promise versus what you can deliver. Because like you said, the Segway actually delivered exactly what they claimed it was going to do. It's just, it's a cool looking product, and then when you actually use it, you're like, meh. Well, FSD, if when you use it and it works very well, you're like, yeah, I mean, this is impressive.
Yeah, I'm already at the point where it's helpful. It used to be like scary and dangerous, and now it's gone to the helpful point. But I would.
So yeah, are you on the 12.6.4, like the latest one? Like, because I've been having so much issues with that one, like that the latest one, like that.
Yes, that's true. Now that you mention it, I was really surprised how bad the last one was. 12.6.4.
Yeah. So this one, if you do a camera calibration when you can.
Yeah.
So just,
Okay.
you go in the system, camera calibration, and you won't have access for the features for like a few miles. And then you need to re-accept the FSD beta, or whatever they call it now. You need like to go through the process of like, if I kill myself, it's my fault and everything.
Right.
But then you can use it. That helped me a lot with I had a giant problem where I kept passing cars on the highway, and now one of the addition to, I mean, that maybe not the last update, but the one before that, is like you actually go back into the right lane after passing someone. Like for a while, it just wouldn't do that. It was annoying the shit out of me. But now it's doing it. It's just that now it does it, and then it slows down like crazy. Like it would do that, get back in. Like I would go at 118 on the highway, pass someone, get in front of them, and then slow down to 112, and like then they would pass me if I don't realize that I'm slowing down like crazy. So stupid things
We
like
should
that.
note you're talking about kilometers.
Yeah, kilometers. I don't go at 112 miles an hour. That's a good point. But the camera calibration fixed that a little bit. It still does it sometimes, but like it would do it like every time before. Now it does it maybe like 1 in 10 times, which is still annoying, but not as annoying. And I still get some phantom braking, but less so. But in the latest update, I don't know about you, I get a lot of ping-ponging again.
Yeah, ping pong. Yep.
Which I never would get before that. I mean, back in the early days of FSD, and even maybe back in the early days of Autopilot, maybe even, I would get a bunch of ping-ponging. That Tesla fixed that a long time ago, and now normally like Autopilot, FSD drives straight in the middle of the line, unless you have like you passing a truck or something, then you would hug the left lane a bit too much sometimes, but that's fine. But now I'm getting like car sick from like just going between the lines like that. I was like, what is that about? Why is there such a big regression? And that hasn't been fixed since my camera. I did two camera calibration actually, and the second one fixed a lot of my speed issues, but not the ping ponging, which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird because I would get ping ponging in some of the other autopilots, like early Super Cruise and Blue Cruise from Ford
Yeah.
would ping pong a lot, and actually Rivians would ping pong. So yeah, it's super weird that it feels like they're starting over or something. They must have done some big back end swap or something this time around.
Well, it's like a two-step forward, one step back kind of
Yeah.
process. So that's why I don't know how do you feel confident about claiming like, oh, it's gonna be solved by the end of the year. I was like,
Yeah, that's just crazy. All right. Moving on. Honestly, the Cybercab skin is horrible looking, but they could have done a better looking low cost car on the same platform with a different skin. Yeah, I think that's what
I don't know about
thinking.
skin, what you mean exactly, but it's
You know how
gold, like it's
the hubcaps are like the size of the wheels.
Yeah.
And stuff. All right. Great point, Fred. That isn't stated enough. You can't use your own car as a taxi because you need it when it would actually be in demand. Always a crap idea and massively overhyped daily fares. Very opinionated.
I mean, it's a fair point. It's like Elon keeps talking about that. The only thing it makes sense is like Elon's idea of like you're going to be a shepherd. You're going to have a fleet of Tesla vehicle that's going to take care of, and then you're going to send out. Like, that makes more sense because like you're not going to use most of them. Like you just need one. But how many people are actually going to do? I'm sure some people are going to do that. Like when he first said that. You remember I bought the cheapest Model X ever when I was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I bought it from a company that was doing like
Most
a taxi
miles
service.
Ever.
Yeah. It was like 400,000 miles or so. It was crazy. I forget the name of the company that I bought it from, but they were doing a taxi. Say that again?
Tesloop?
Yeah, maybe something like that. You might be right. But they were doing a service between Los Angeles and San Diego and Los Angeles and Las Vegas and like just taxiing people nonstop with those cars. So that's how they racked up a bunch of mileage. But I talked to the owner of that company back then, and he was a giant Elon Musk fan. I think he still is. Anyway, his idea is like, I'm going to build a fleet doing that right now. So I'm going to use drivers, and for now, it's going to create some revenue and justify buying those vehicles. But his idea is like, I'll keep building the fleet, and then when Tesla finally turns FSD on, I'm going to have a giant fleet like that I'm going to just do fares for me all the time. Obviously, that didn't pan out. The company went under and everything, and they ended up selling all the cars for pennies on the dollars. Listening to Elon Musk is not always a good idea.
All right. Rather be surfing 777 question. Remember when Elon said he would make a regular truck if the Cybertruck failed? Can we all pile on X for a while and make that happen? We've been talking about this for a couple weeks, and I think we didn't talk about this specific post, but there was a nice rendering of what could be a kind of halfway between Cybertruck and a regular truck. I think
it was a SUV truck though. It was not a pickup, but yeah, it was like a more regular looking truck using stainless steel. So that might be an idea, but I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. Like I don't think like the idea of like what Elon said, which was like really reasonable back then. He was like, I mean, he was like self-aware, like Cybertruck is a big, like it's a long shot, it's a Hail Mary, but if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, well, we're going to make a more traditional looking pickup truck because we need electric pickup trucks. Nowadays, it would require Elon to admit defeat, like admit like it didn't work. And I just don't see that happening.
All right, Devion, any chance of Musk stepping down this year, and who might be able to take over in that role? We talk about this probably every other episode.
Yeah.
Seems like most possible candidates left since Elon Musk came back after missing a single quarterly meeting. I think Fred and I are both in agreement that we'd like to see JB Straubel be the person running the show, but
even then, like we haven't really talked to JB in a long time. We haven't really heard from him. We don't know. Like, was he pushing back against some of these ideas? Because he joined back the board only like less than 2 years ago, I think. So like, you cannot blame him for a lot of the things that happened between 2019 and now, like none of the things really. But he has been back at Tesla in board capacity for like almost 2 years now. And I don't know, maybe behind the scene he's like working hard to like prevent some of that damage. But my every single day that passes where we don't hear anything from the board, I lose a lot of respect for a lot of these board members, because I think they are just letting the Tesla brand and the company degrade to a level that will be hard to come back from.
Bobby Bishop says 1-year-old Model Ys are selling for $20,000 in this area. I mean,
I haven't seen that, but I've seen pretty close to that.
Yeah, I guess that's
in
your
the high 20s
$25,000 Tesla.
Yeah. Of course, there's the changeover too, so like that doesn't help with the old model, but still, like a 1-year-old Model Y with like 20,000 miles on it is like not a bad car to have at all.
Question: how much faster do you think Tesla FSD would come if Elon would give in and add LiDAR? I mean, it would complicate things for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the fact that they didn't incorporate it since the beginning, and I've been pushing against it. Like it would require a sensor fusion system that Tesla has given up on sensor fusion. They removed the radar too, so it probably I'm sure that there are some plugins to that, and there's a ways to help. You could maybe buy a company or something like that, but. I think it would add work also, so I don't know how much quicker it would. I'm sure it would help with a lot. Like if you depends on how you think about Tesla FSD. If you think about Tesla FSD as what Elon has been promised, I don't think it will help that much. I think it will add a lot of complexity and will probably add time to the situation. With the pivot, with the Austin thing, so for the geofence stuff and everything, it could probably add a quick way of having like higher level of safety that could help a lot with like lower speed stuff, and a more like a backstop for safety that could help for these regional deployment, geofence, and teleoperation assisted. So for that, I think yes, it could probably help.
All right, point. Fleet reductions with Robotaxi is a fallacy. There will still be a rush hours daily and holiday weekends where all Americans will want to use their car. That's probably true.
Yeah, probably true.
Odometergate equals range gate. Yeah, I guess that's what they're kind of.
It was already kind of a range gate at Tesla. Remember, like back then, like the Tesla PR employee, like called me crying when I posted that report. I was like, it was crazy.
I seem to be noticing fewer Teslas on the road these days. Anyone else notice this? Are people leaving them at home and driving their other vehicles? I haven't quite noticed that yet. I still see quite a few.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more on the lots though, because a lot of people are selling them, and then they are the time to sell it after that is getting longer and longer.
I've been noticing a huge number of older Teslas with paper plates. People are dumping their Teslas, and other people are buying them up at deep discounts.
That's true.
I mean, that's good for the EV thing. Like,
because a lot of these people that are selling their Teslas they're buying another EV. They're not going back to gas, so it helps the sales of non-Tesla EVs. And then for those that want to get into Tesla for cheap, well, I mean, go for it. Like it's just
bullshit will be flying at their earnings call, or Elon will be strung out on ketamine. Could be both. No, and do the same carbon copy of half-assed all-hands employee meeting. The eVTOL push is great because long-range flights are probably not going to be feasible for a long time. Obviously, the batteries, right
now the idea is like more like short-range stuff for sure.
Short flights will at least give the aviation community into electrification train, and then
that's a good point.
eVTOL in New York City area. Many travel websites will form an itinerary which will require you to change airports in New York for through flights. They expect you to do your own way from JFK to Newark. Some layovers less than 2 hours.
So he's saying that it's going to be maybe used like to do different routing for the airlines.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, United, which is part of the ownership and their whatever, they could now fly somebody into LaGuardia and out of JFK, for instance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. I hope your girlfriend doesn't see this video.
Pretty sure.
Don't worry, she doesn't watch.
And she
Nobody's
knows that like she's the one who tells me like to calm down when I drive and everything. And she's starting to
also
drive now, which is gonna be crazy.
starting to drive.
She just got her like temporary permit.
Dude, how old is she?
She's 30 for 31 or something, but she's a
Good.
city girl. Like she's never
Right.
driven.
I know. I'm
But
just playing.
now she's starting. So like this week we might go to a parking lot and have her drive for the first time. So
Oh,
you can
that'll be fun.
imagine my stress levels are doing great.
Yeah, payback.
Yep.
All right. Skeptic says you forgot the hyperroute Segway. It was built as transportation
Yeah.
revolution. Yeah.
Kind of remember that a little bit now.
Exclusive Tesla to delay U.S. launch of affordable EV, a lower cost Model Y. Okay.
Did they just report that now? Because Reuters had a
Reuters is
report.
reporting lower cost Model Y is delayed. Is that
Yeah.
new? That's
Well, they had a report on that in China like a few weeks ago that we did share that. Like there was a few reports coming from China about that, about this trip down the last month. Oh, no, they're right. There's a new report on that. I'm gonna look into that right after we finish the.
all right. I'm working in Europe to expand the charging infrastructure on an engineering level. Here we speak a lot about vehicle to grid as a way to balance the periods above 60% renewable energy. Do you think Tesla will turn on vehicle to grid? And if so, when? I think it would be crazy for Tesla not to. There's just so many batteries and so much financial upside.
We've been talking about that a long time because
they have the thing with the Cybertruck already.
They have it with Cybertruck. Drew Baglino was now out that Tesla said, I think in 2023, that all Tesla vehicles going forward are going to have the vehicle to grid. Then the Powerwall 3 came out with a new bidirectional charger that seems to be the same as in the new Model Y, Model 3,
the inverter,
based on the specs. So that would open up the idea that the inverter is bidirectional. Right. In the car. So it's just they haven't just turned on the capacity. Again, unconfirmed, but very likely. So we don't know what's the hold up is on that. I know that Elon and GB too at some point they talked about that a little bit, and they don't like the value proposition of it, especially they kind of want to sell the Powerwall too at the same time. So they push people more towards the Powerwall and using that. But they like. If you want that feature and the hardware is already there, like it would make sense to just turn it on, and it becomes the responsibility of the owner. Like I don't like the BBing of the owner so much. Like you bought the car, it's your car. You should be able to do what you want with it. So if you are okay with faster degradation over time by using it as a vehicle to grid system, then go for it. I guess it should make sense.
All right, we have a couple last ones. Is there anybody else than Hyundai Kia which is enabled vehicle to load or grid? Chevy actually has, or GM actually has a pretty good system for vehicle to grid.
Yeah, Ford too in the F-150. Polestar, I know, is working on it. They had one when I tested their lineup in Sweden earlier this year. It's not enabled in the vehicle just yet, but they are working on it. So there's that.
Yeah, and then one last dig at Tesla vehicle to grid on all Teslas is vaporware, like the range extender was. Tesla can't stop slinging lies.
Yeah, I mean, Carl is not the most optimistic when it comes to Tesla. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to the podcast this week. We appreciate you. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up. All those things, they help a ton. And then I'm gonna start writing on that new report about the Model Y, stripped down Model Y. Let's see.
Yeah, next week's going to be a little weird because I'm going to be in China. So we'll see what we figure out on that one. Yeah, we're going to figure out if it makes sense to do the podcast at a different time. So stay tuned for that because it's like, what, 12 hours ahead of me or something like that? Something like that, yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's still going to make sense. It's going to be like morning for one of us and night for the other. Saturday morning, yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.